Question 113 of the Summa Theologia is about the guardianship of the good angels, otherwise known as the guardian angels. And the church has always taught that each person, each human being is guarded by a particular angel, and that will come out in these articles of the Summa. And so there are 8 articles. This one will be a little bit longer, but it is interesting, and it's also very encouraging to know that God, in his ordering and government of the world, thought enough to give each one of us a guardian angel to protect us. So Article 1 says whether men are guarded by the angels. Now, this is just kind of a general question about whether we are guarded by the angels overall. And he says, according to the plan of divine providence, we find that in all things the movable and invariable are moved and regulated by the immovable and invariable. Okay, as all corporeal things are immovable spiritual substances, and the inferior bodies by the superior, which are invariable in substance. Okay, that's a mouthful. Basically, what he's saying is that whenever you have something that is pure matter, it's always going to be ruled by something immaterial, as in the case of our body, which is material, and then we have an immaterial soul that is what orders it and what, gives it its form and moves it, right? Because without our intellectual soul, we wouldn't be able to move at all. And also, it would stand to reason also that the other things in the world, such as the dogs and the cats and the rocks and the butterflies, are ruled by something incorporeal, like the angels, that have a role in the governance of creatures. Article 2, whether each man is guarded by an angel. Okay, is each man, of course, and woman guarded by an angel? And this says each man has an angel guardian appointed to him. This rests upon the fact that the guardianship of angels belongs to the execution of divine providence concerning men. But God's providence acts differently as regards men and as regards other corruptible creatures, for they are related differently to incorruptibility. So he's comparing us here to, the wolves and the cats and the whatever, rhinoceroses, the brute creatures that don't have subsistent souls, you could say, that are not eternal. They are just, when they die, right? For men are not only incorruptible in the common species, but also in the proper form of each individual, which are the rational souls, which cannot be said of other incorruptible things. So again, he's comparing us to the brute creatures. Now it is manifest that the providence of God is chiefly exercised towards what remains forever. That's an important line. Whereas regards things which pass away, the providence of God acts so as to order their existence to the things which are perpetual. So everything that passes away is ordered towards those things which do not pass away, which means that the created world is ordered towards us because we have, souls that are going to live forever. Thus, the providence of God is related to each man as it is to each genus or species of things corruptible. But according to Gregory, the different orders are deputed to different genera of things. Now, this is really interesting because now he starts talking about the orders of angels. What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? The powers coerce demons. The virtues work miracles in things corporeal, while it is probable that the different species are presided over by different angels of the same order. Hence, it is also reasonable to suppose that different angels are appointed to the guardianship of different men. The language there is interesting because he says it's reasonable to propose. It doesn't seem to be like, it's absolutely 100%, although this is a dogma of the faith, and so we must assent to this if we are going to be good Catholics. Whether to guard men belongs only to the lowest order of angels. Remember, there's 9 orders of angels, starting with the seraphim, and then the cherubim, and the thrones, and then there was some disagreement about the middle hierarchy, and then we've got the angels and the archangels at the bottom. Man is guarded in 2 ways. In one way, by particular guardianship, according as to each man an angel is appointed to guard him, and such guardianship belongs to the lowest order of the angels, whose place it is, according to Gregory, to announce the lesser things. Okay, so we are pretty low in the pecking order, I guess you could say, and so our guardian angels are among the lowest. For it seems to be the least of the angelic offices to procure what concerns the salvation of only one man. All right, so your angel only has you, my angel only has me, and that's not in the big picture that big of a deal, right? The other kind of guardianship is universal, multiplied according to the different orders. For the more universal an agent is, the higher it is. Thus, the guardianship of the human race belongs to the order of the principalities. Okay, the principalities guard the whole human race, right? Or perhaps the archangels. Okay, he's not sure. Whom we call the angel princes. Hence, Michael, whom we call an archangel, is also called one of the princes in Daniel 10:13. Moreover, all corporeal creatures are guarded by the virtues, and likewise the demons by the powers, and the good spirits by the principalities, according to Gregory's opinion. All right? So Dionysius and Gregory, again, like I said yesterday, are the two that have the most to do with the listing of the orders of the angels. Whether angels are appointed to the guardianship of all men. Okay, oops, there goes my phone. I'm sorry. Okay, are they appointed to the guardianship of all men? Let me make sure this doesn't happen again. And my apologies. I think that may have been the first time that happened while I'm doing a broadcast. Let's see. Man, while in this state of life, is, as it were, on the road to which he should journey towards heaven. On this road, man is threatened by many dangers, both from within and from without. And then he quotes Psalm 159, "In this way wherein I walked, they have hidden a snare for me. And therefore, as guardians are appointed for men to have passed by an unsafe road, so an angel guardian is assigned to each man as long as he is a wayfarer." Okay, so why are the angels protecting us? Because life is dangerous, and they're helping us get to our final end. When, however, he arrives at the end of his life, he no longer has a guardian angel, but in the kingdom he will have an angel to reign with him, in hell a demon to punish him. So it begs the question, well, if we get to heaven, are we going to have the same guardian angel? It doesn't seem to imply that. Maybe it's the same angel, but it's no longer a guardian angel because it's achieved its end. Whether an angel is appointed to guard a man from his birth. Now, this is interesting. And what Thomas is going to say here, there are two opinions on this matter. Some held that the angel guardian is appointed at the time of baptism, others at the time of birth. The latter opinion Jerome approves, and with reason. For those benefits which are conferred by God on man as a Christian begin with his baptism, such as receiving the Eucharist. Okay, so I guess back then people were receiving the Eucharist at baptism, but they probably, maybe, I don't know, and the like. But those which are conferred by God on man as a rational being are bestowed to him as a birth, at birth. For then it is that he receives that nature. Among the latter benefits, we must count the guardianship of angels, as we have said above. Wherefore, from the very moment of his birth, man has an angel guardian appointed to him. Now, from a pro-life standpoint, you might say, well, why at birth? Why not at conception, right? Why not when the rational soul meets the matter? And I think that's a legitimate question, one that I will ask St. Thomas when I see him one day, God willing, in heaven. Whether the angel guardians ever forsake a man. The guardianship of the angels is an effect of divine providence as regard to man. Now it is evident that neither man nor anything at all is entirely withdrawn from providence of God, for in as far as a thing participates being, as long as it exists, so far as it is subject to the providence that extends over all being. God indeed is said to forsake man according to the ordering of his providence, but only insofar as he allows man to suffer some defect of punishment or of fault. So God only withdraws his grace, withdraws his charity when a man sins, right? In like manner, it must be said that the angel guardian never forsakes a man entirely, but sometimes he leaves him in some particular, for instance, by not preventing him from being subject to some trouble or even from falling into sin according to the ordering of divine judgments. In this sense, Babylon and the house of Israel are said to have been forsaken by the angels because the angel guardians did not prevent them from being subject to tribulation. So God will allow us to fall into sin, and the angel is not always going to stop us from doing so. Whether angels grieve for the ills of those whom they guard. Okay, do they get upset? Do they get sorrowful, like this angel in the picture here? Angels do not grieve, either for sins or the pains inflicted on men. For grief and sorrow, according to Augustine, are for those things which occur against our will. But nothing happens in the world contrary to the will of the angels and other blessed. Remember, they are experiencing like heaven. They're blessed. They've received their reward, and there is no pain, there is no sorrow in heaven, because they will cleave entirely to the ordering of divine justice, while nothing happens in the world save what is effected or permitted by divine justice. Therefore, simply speaking, nothing occurs in the world against the will of the blessed, for Aristotle says that it is called simply voluntary, which a man wills in a particular case and of a particular time, having considered all the circumstances, although, universally speaking, such a thing would not be voluntary. Thus the sailor does not will the casting of his cargo into the sea, considered universally and absolutely, but on account of the threat of danger. Wherefore this is voluntary rather than involuntary, as stated in the same passage. Therefore, universally and absolutely speaking, the angels do not will sin and the pains inflicted on its account, but they do will the fulfillment of the ordering of divine justice in this matter, in respect of which some are subjected to pains and are allowed to fall into sin. So what does this mean? It means that when we are punished, or God forbid we go to hell, the angels will see this in the universal cause, the universal order, and they're like, okay, it's all right with it. It's like when as a parent we have to discipline our children. We're not happy about it, but we see the big picture. We see how it's actually going to help them in the end, and it's ordering to the overall good. Whether there can be strife or discord among the angels. The raising of this question is occasioned by the passage of Daniel. Jerome explains it by saying that the prince of the kingdom of the Persians is the angel who opposed the setting free of the people of Israel, for whom Daniel was praying, his prayers being offered to God by Gabriel. And this resistance of his may have been caused by some prince of the demons having led the Jewish captives in Persia into sin, which sin was an impediment to the efficacy of the prayer which Daniel put up for the same people. So it appears that there's contrary desires of these different angels, and so there appears to be somewhat of a battle. But according to Gregory, the prince of the kingdom of Persia was a good angel appointed to the guardianship of that kingdom. To see, therefore, how one angel can be said to resist another, we must note that the divine judgment in regard to various kingdoms and various men are executed by the angels. Now, in their actions, the angels are ruled by divine decree, but it happens in times that various kingdoms or various men, there are contrary merits or demerits, so that one of them is subject to or placed over another. As to what is the ordering of divine wisdom on such matters, the angels cannot know unless God reveal it to them, and so they need to consult divine wisdom thereupon. Wherefore, forasmuch as they consult the divine will concerning various contrary and opposing merits, they are said to resist one another. Not that their wills are in opposition, since they are all of one mind as to the fulfillment of the divine decree, but that the things about which they seek knowledge are in opposition. So it seems to imply here that even the good angels sometimes might have a little disagreement or a difference of opinion, but ultimately they're all in favor of the ordering of divine justice and the divine will, and so they come to an agreement in the end. But it's a little bit confusing, but oh well, not the first time I've been a little bit confused by something in the Summa Theologia. Thank you for journeying with me through the Summa Theologia. We are 6 questions away from the end of Prima Pars. Congratulations. Have you watched all the videos? Has anybody out there watched all 113 of them so far? If so, kudos. Keep up the good work. And we still got a long ways to go, but we're doing it one question at a time, one day at a time. St. Thomas Aquinas, pray for us. God bless you.